All right, good morning. Welcome to our 5th annual Words That Change the World competition. Do you remember that old children's chant? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words shall never hurt me. A child might say this in response to someone teasing them as a rebuke or as self-protection. But if anything, the last few years have shown us the opposite, just how powerful words can be, for better and for worse. Words matter. They connect or divide friends, local communities, nations, and as we've seen in the last few weeks, players on the global stage. These 6 speeches have been chosen carefully by the seniors delivering them. They believe enough in what these words have to offer us to reiterate them here on the CFA stage today. Let's hear what they have to say. Please welcome your MCs for the competition, Lindsay Mingalelli and Max Black.
What makes Words That Change the World so special is that it allows us to hear some truly powerful words. Words that have shaped history, lifted people up in times of despair, and rallied us into action. And, of course, they're delivered by students who we know and truly care about.
It's one thing to hear a speech on TV or to read it online, but when it comes from somebody that we know, it hits differently. It's personal, it's real, it's authentic. And that's why these speeches matter. These students have chosen words that resonate with them, and by doing that, they're sharing a little part of who they are.
As we listen today, I encourage you all to ask yourselves, which of these speeches speaks to me? Why does it speak to me? Because when we feel moved by what we hear, it tells us something about ourselves, about our values, our experiences, and what we stand for.
Word. Sometimes speeches can be a little uncomfortable. They ask us to think about issues, about hard issues, and take a tough look at the world around us. But that's what makes them so important. We have to reflect, question, and then hopefully act on what we've learned.
So, as we move forward today, let's remember that these students are sharing more than just words. They're sharing ideas that could very well change our world. And it's up to us to listen with open hearts and open minds. Please give these speakers your full attention and support. It takes a lot of courage to stand up here and share something so powerful to them. So please be attentive to show these wonderful speakers how much we appreciate their bravery.
Good shout, Lindsay. And remember, at the end of this meeting, you'll be voting on the best speech and best speaker, not based on who you're friends with, but based on the words that resonated with you most. The winner will get a pizza party for their class and bragging rights that'll last forever.
Now, let's get to the competition. First, Abby Cherry as Admiral McRaven.
William Harry McRaven is a retired United States Navy 4-star admiral. Admiral McRaven commanded U.S. Special Operations and has advised multiple presidents, including George W. Bush and Barack Obama. He delivers the Make Your Bed speech on May 17th at University of Texas at Austin's 2014 commencement ceremony. As McRaven reflects on his Navy SEAL basic training, he realizes the importance of mental resilience. He uses this speech to persuade the audience towards personal discipline and perseverance, while highlighting the power one person can have to change the world. I chose this speech in particular because I come from a large military family and was inspired by how McRaven uses his military experience and analogies to empower others in everyday scenarios. What stood out to me was through his own difficulties getting through this program, he recognizes other men in his group who gave him hope and the lessons he learned. Every morning, my father says to me, "Make your bed. That's how you start your day." Just as this line was ingrained in him by his father and in the Marines, I've also been making my bed since I can remember. If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride and will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you will never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you've had a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you were also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat crew with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made of the little guys, the Munchkin crew we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, out-swam, and outran all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins would put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow, these little guys from every corner nation in the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed. Not your color, not your ethnic background, not your social status, not your education. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers. The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and one special day at the Mud Flats. The Mud Flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana, where the water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle down in the mud flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive the freezing cold, the howling wind, and the incessant pressure to quit from the instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday evening, my training class, having committed some egregious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man, and so there was nothing visible but our heads. The instructors told us we could leave the mud if only 5 men would quit. Only 5 men. Just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the mud flats, it was apparent that students were about to give up. 8 more hours of bone-chilling cold, of chattering teeth, and shivering moans of the trainees were so loud, it was hard to hear anything. And then, one voice began to raise through the night. One voice raised in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but sung with great enthusiasm. One voice turned into 2, and 2 became 3. And before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept up the singing, but the singing persisted. And somehow, the mud seemed a little warmer, and the wind a little tamer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it's the power of hope, the power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, King, Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world. by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often, but if you take some risk, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never ever give up, if you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better. Thank you very much. Welcome horns.
Next, Kylie Gilbert as Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou is recognized as being, quote, a spokesperson for all people who are committed to raising the moral standards of living in the United States, end quote. That's why, in 1993, she was chosen by Bill Clinton to write and perform a poem at his first presidential inauguration. In her lifetime, spanning from 1928 to 2014, she took on the roles of poet, civil rights activist, composer, dancer, filmmaker, and autobiographer. In one of her many world-changing poems, On the Pulse of Morning, she calls for peace and harmony, equal treatment of humans no matter ethnicity, race, religion, or income. Angelou highlights the ways in which our government has harmed marginalized people, and yet her words urge us to believe in and trust the inherent virtue of our governing bodies. In our world right now, there are a lot of political uncertainties. Basic human rights are at risk. I admire Maya Angelou and her willingness to harbor hope. I want to be as brave as she is and do the same. A rock, a river, a tree. Host to species long since departed marked the mastodon, the dinosaur, who left dry tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully. Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words armed for slaughter. The rock cries out to us today. You may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you, a bordered country, delicately and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege, your armed struggles for profit have left collars of debris upon my breast, have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris. Yet today, I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the rock and the river were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you knew, you yet knew you still knew nothing. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear. They all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me, here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed-on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name, you Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, you, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the crew, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on the nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, come. Root yourselves beside me. I am that tree planted by the river which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning ahead of you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived. But if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift your eyes upon this day, breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country. No less to Midas than the Medicant, no less to you now than the Mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
Next, we have Luke Driscoll as Jerry Seinfeld.
A lot of us here have seen the animated film, The Bee Movie. It follows a honey bee named Barry Benson who tries to stop humans from stealing honey. Let's be honest, the movie is really bad, but I believe it holds something far more valuable than a terrible storyline. It has humor, and it has really awkward jokes. Most people stress about getting into a top university, getting hired for their dream job, or achieving the highest grade in school. They strive to achieve some sort of end goal and disregard the journey of life. But what about a sense of humor? You can't put humor on a resume. Humor doesn't count for extra credit, and you can't quantify it. So it makes sense why we often focus on other things and devalue humor. However, through Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech at Duke University, he challenges this idea. He addresses the importance of humor in navigating life's challenges. As a comedian, actor, and producer, Seinfeld focused on making jokes about universal experiences. In addition to his career in stand-up comedy, He co-created and starred in the popular sitcom Seinfeld, a talk show called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and in the animated film The Bee Movie. Last year, Seinfeld spoke before the class of 2024 at Duke University during their commencement celebration. The audience was an intelligent and hardworking group of individuals ready to land their dream job. However, Seinfeld chose not to speak about their careers, and instead talked about the importance of jokes in awkward situations. As an awkward person myself, I shouldn't even be on the stage. But this speech changed my perspective on humor. It helped me realize that a laugh or awkward joke can help us get through some of the most difficult times. Today, I'm honored to teach you about the strength of humor. Here's an excerpt from Jerry Seinfeld's Duke University commencement speech. You are all worker bees, and I mean that as the highest compliment. I love bees. Beautiful, amazing, elegant society. I made a cartoon movie about bees that you may have watched as a child. If any of you felt slightly uncomfortable about the sexual undertones in the relationship between Barry the bee and Vanessa, the florist who saves its life, I would like to apologize for that now. I may have not calibrated that one perfectly, but I would not change it. The biggest point I would like to make to you here today is regarding humor. I'm going to try to reach across a couple of generations to tell you the most important thing I'm confident that I know about in life. I am 70. I am done. You are just starting. I only want to help you. That slightly uncomfortable feeling of awkward humor is okay. It's not something you need to fix. I totally admire the ambitions of your generation to create a more just and inclusive society. I think it is also so wonderful that we care so much about not hurting other people's feelings in the 1,000,001 ways that we do every second of every day. It's lovely to want to fix those things, but, all caps, but, what I need to tell you as a comedian is do not lose your sense of humor. Not enough of life makes sense for you to be able to survive it without humor. And I know all of you here are going to use your brains and your muscle and your soul to improve the world. And I know you're going to do a bang-up job. And when you are done, as I am now, I bet the world, because of you, will be a much better place. But it is worth the sacrifice of an occasional discomfort to have some laughs. Don't lose that. Even if it's at the cost of occasional hard feelings. It's okay. You gotta laugh. That is the one thing at the end of your life you will not wish you did less of. Humor is the most powerful, most survival essential quality you will ever have or need to navigate through the human experience. I've had a lot of fun in life, falling in love with stupid, physical, meaningless objects. The object I love the most is the clear barrel Bic pen for $1.29 a box of 10. I can fall in love with a car turn signal that has a nice feel to it, a pizza crust that collapses with just the right amount of pressure. I have truly spent my life focusing on the smallest things imaginable, completely oblivious to the bigger issues of life. Find something where you love the good parts, and don't mind the bad parts too much. The torture you're comfortable with. This is the golden path to victory in life. And I know you're not even really listening to this speech. That's okay, I wouldn't either. You're graduating, you're thinking of yourself or timing your mobile order from the Yalla food truck, and that's all cool. But don't lose your humor. Forget the rest. All of you here would do fantastically well without any of it. All of you, without question, are the best of the best. Just don't lose your humor. It's not an accessory. It's your Stanley Cup water bottle on the brutal, long hike of life. Try to enjoy some of the dumbness of it all, and I wish you luck and love. Thanks for the phony degree and this ridiculous outfit. Congratulations, Duke 2024.
Next, Megan Sloan as Hillary Clinton.
This speech was delivered by former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton on December 6, 2011, International Human Rights Day. A graduate of Wellesley College and Yale Law School, Clinton uses her invitation to the United Nations to vouch for the necessity of LGBTQ protections. She frames her speech by referencing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights written 63 years prior. The politicians in attendance value this declaration, and asserting that their country's treatment of the LGBTQ community is in violation of this document evokes a strong emotional response. Importantly, Secretary Clinton is a straight Christian woman. Her unique defense of the queer community from an unusual advocate provides a refreshing perspective. In her speech, she encourages non-LGBTQ people to fight alongside queer people, claiming that, acting alone, minorities can never achieve the majorities necessary for political change. I chose this speech because, as a queer woman, it is empowering to see a non-LGBTQ person advocating for this community. When Secretary Clinton delivered this speech, she blazed a trail for other non-queer people to start conversations about LGBTQ rights. Often, out of fear of saying the wrong thing, people avoid difficult topics. Clinton knows that to make a change, one cannot always be comfortable. At 3 o'clock in the morning on December 10th, 1948, after nearly 2 years of drafting and one last long night of debate, the International Declaration of Human Rights was adopted. It proclaims a simple, powerful idea. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Because we are human, we have rights. Today, I want to talk about the work we have left to do to protect one group of people whose human rights are still denied in too many parts of the world today. They are arrested, beaten, terrorized, even executed. Many are treated with contempt and violence by their fellow citizens, while authorities empowered to protect them look the other way or even join in the abuse. They are forced to suppress or deny who they are to protect themselves from harm. I am talking about gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. Now, raising this issue, I know, is sensitive for many people, and that the obstacles standing in the way of protecting LGBT people rest on deeply held personal, political, cultural, and religious beliefs. So I come here before you with respect, understanding, and humility. The first issue goes to the heart of the matter. Some have suggested that gay rights and human rights are separate and distinct. Now, of course, 60 years ago, the governments that passed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were not thinking about how it applied to the LGBT community or to Indigenous people or children or people with disabilities. Yet we have come to recognize that members of these groups are entitled to the full measure of dignity and rights because, like all people, they share a common humanity. It is a violation of human rights when people are beaten or killed because of their sexual orientation, or because they do not conform to cultural norms about how men and women should look or behave. It is a violation of human rights when governments declare it illegal to be gay or allow those who harm gay people to go unpunished. It is a violation of human rights when lesbian or transgender women are subjected to so-called corrective rape, or forcibly subjected to hormone treatments, or when people are murdered after public calls for violence towards gays, or when they are forced to flee their nations and seek asylum in other lands to save their lives. And it is a violation of human rights when life-saving care is withheld from people because they are gay, or equal access to justice is denied to people because they are gay, or public spaces are out of bounds to people because they are gay. The second and perhaps most challenging issue arises when people cite religious or cultural values as a reason to violate or to not protect the human rights of LGBT citizens. Of course, it bears noting that rarely are cultural and religious traditions and teachings actually in conflict with the protection of human rights. Indeed, our religion and our culture are sources of compassion and inspiration towards our fellow human beings. It was not only those who've justified slavery who leaned on religion, it was also those who sought to abolish it. The third issue is what history teaches us about how we make progress towards rights for all. No one has ever abandoned a belief because he was forced to do so. Reaching understanding of these issues takes more than a speech. It takes a constellation of conversations in places big and small. And it takes a willingness to see stark differences in belief as a reason to begin the conversation, not to avoid it. Finally, progress comes from being willing to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. We need to ask ourselves, how would it feel if it were a crime to love the person that I love? How would it feel to be discriminated against for something about myself that I cannot change? And finally, to LGBT men and women worldwide, let me say this. Wherever you live and whatever the circumstances of your life, whether you are connected to a network of support or feel isolated and vulnerable, please know that you are not alone. People around the globe are working hard to support you and to bring an end to the injustices and dangers you face. You have an ally in the United States of America, and you have millions of friends among the American people. There's a phrase that people in the United States invoke when urging others to support human rights: be on the right side of history. The story of the United States is the story of a nation that has repeatedly grappled with intolerance and inequality. Those who advocate for expanding the circle of human rights were and are on the right side of history, and history honors them. Those who tried to constrict human rights were wrong, and history reflects that as well. We are called once more to make real the words of the Universal Declaration. Let us answer that call. Let us be on the right side of history. I come before you with great hope and confidence that no matter how long the road ahead, we will travel it successfully together. Thank you very much.
Now, Shayna Haley as Maya Angelou.
I will be presenting the poem Still I Rise, written by the well-known poet and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. Published in 1978, it still remains one of her most famous poems. It demonstrates fortitude, hope, and perseverance in the face of adversity. Angelou boldly highlights how the expression of confidence in Black women is often met with hostility. Her powerful words challenge those stereotypes by asserting an unshakable spirit, making it a powerful declaration of self-worth. Still I Rise perfectly represents the essence of triumphing over injustice and positively embracing one's identity. Today, this message is still relevant. When a Black woman dares to speak up or walk with pride, many people perceive it as a threat. They give her dismissive labels like an angry Black girl, or she's accused of having too much attitude, instead of taking her stand against injustice seriously. Maya Angelou was a confident woman that wasn't afraid to confront people that did her wrong. And these are the traits that I aspire to have. People respect her because she shut down negative comments and didn't let them affect her progress. She did it on her own because if you don't stand up for yourself, who will? You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you so beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head, lowered eyes, shoulders falling like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your lies. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out from the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I am a Black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you.
And finally, V. Taylor as Nora Ephron.
What is truly different about males and females? No, I'm not referring to what you're probably all thinking of, but when I was young, I thought what made boys and girls different was our hair. In the 3rd grade, I was in a boys' hockey league where I was persistently made fun of for being a girl. The extremely unoriginal comment, "You play like a girl," is something I heard every game. So I cut my hair into a high and tight pixie cut. That way, no one would see the ponytail under my helmet, and no one would have to know I was a girl. Nora Ephron's Wellesley College commencement speech for the class of 1996 adds a sense of humor and inspiration towards modern feminism. The late Nora Ephron was an accomplished writer, journalist, filmmaker, and Wellesley alum, renowned for creating some of the best classic romantic comedy movies, such as Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and When Harry Met Sally. Nora has experienced the proverbial shaft women receive in the professional world firsthand. She addresses a group of all women as Wellesley College is a single-sex university. I was drawn to this speech because for my freshman and first sophomore year of high school, I attended an all-girls school. There, my education was led with the principle that because of my gender, I will need to consistently work really hard to succeed in my life. I was taught I would need to work harder to stand out and stand tall because of the same implicit and derogatory biases that are still prevalent in today's society. I would like to take this moment to celebrate how far we have come. However, there are still improvements to be made. It is up to us, this generation of academically and emotionally intelligent young women and men, to make those changes. In our current society, my worth is determined by one single letter. The true difference between males and females is within our biological makeup, XX and XY chromosomes. We have allowed the letter Y to define roles in our society. If one letter can hold so much power, we can create change with something even greater, our words. Through Efron's words, it is revealed what women truly are, human beings with the potential to do everything. I hope that this speech resonates with all of you, young women and men, so that one day, a young girl, maybe even your future daughters, can be proud to have a ponytail coming out of the back of her helmet. Dear class of 1996, I am so proud of you. Thank you for asking me to speak to you today. I had a wonderful time trying to imagine who had been ahead of me on the list and who had said no. But when I was at my graduation under these very trees, I was absolutely terrified. Something was over, something safe and protected, and something else was about to begin. I was headed off to New York, and I was sure that I would live there forever and never meet anyone and end up dying, one of those New York deaths where no one even notices you're missing until the smell drifts into the hallway weeks later. But I want to tell you a little bit about my class, the class of 1962. How long ago was it? It was so long ago that while I was there, Wellesley actually threw 6 young women out for lesbianism. It was so long ago that in my class of, maybe 375 young women, there were 6 Asians and 5 blacks, and there was a strict quota on the number of Jews. How long ago, if you needed an abortion, you drove to a gas station in Union, New Jersey with $500 cash in an envelope, where you were taken blindfolded to a motel room and operated on without an anesthetic. Anyway, the Harvard Crimson had this snippy article which said that Wellesley was a school for tunicata. Tunicata apparently being small fish that spent the first part of their lives frantically swimming around the ocean floor, exploring their environment, and the second part of their lives just lying there and breeding. It was mean and snippy, but it had a horrible ring of truth to it. My class went to college in the era when you got your master's degree in teaching because it was something to fall back on in the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario being that no one married you and you actually had to go to work. As a classmate said at our reunion, our education was a dress rehearsal for a life we never led. Isn't that the saddest line? We weren't meant to have futures, we were meant to marry them. We weren't meant to have politics or careers that mattered or opinions or lives, we were meant to marry them. We were to spend our lives making nice. Many of my classmates did exactly what they were supposed to do when they graduated from Wellesley, and some of them, by the way, lived happily ever after. But many of them didn't. All sorts of things happened that no one expected, and they had to go to work. They had never intended to be the heroines of their own lives. They intended to be first ladies in the lives of big men. They ended up feeling like victims. They ended up, and this is really sad, thinking that their years in college were the best years of their lives. Now, there are women doctors and women lawyers. There are anchor women, although most of them are blonde, but at the same time, the pay differential between men and women has barely changed. In my business, the movie business, there are many more women directors, but it's just as hard to make a movie about a woman as it ever was. And look at the parts the Oscar-nominated actresses played this year. Hooker, 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 and none. It's 1996 and you're graduating from Wellesley in the year of the Wonder Bra. The Wonder Bra is not a step forward for women. Nothing that hurts that much is a step forward for women. What I'm saying is there's still a glass ceiling. One of the things people always say to you if you get upset is, don't take it personally. But listen hard to what's going on, and please, I beg you, take it personally. Above all, be the heroine of your life, not the victim. Your education is a dress rehearsal for a life that is yours to lead. So what are you going to do? Everything is my guess. It will be messy, but embrace the mess. It will be complicated, but rejoice in the complications. It will not be anything that you think it will be like, but surprises are good for you. And don't be frightened. You can always change your mind. I know, I've had 4 careers and 3 husbands. And this is something else I want to tell you. You are not going to be you, fixed and immutable you forever. 2 paths diverge in wood, and we get to take them both. It's another of the nicest things about being woman. We can do that. Did I say it was hard? Yes, but it's also incredibly interesting. You are so lucky to have that life as an option. So whatever you choose, however many roads you travel, I hope that you choose not to be a lady. I hope you will find some way to break the rules and make a little trouble out there. And I also hope that you will choose to make some of that trouble on behalf of women. Thank you, good luck, and welcome to the best years of your lives.
Let's give all of our speakers another big round of applause.